Hi, and welcome to today's edition of World Trade Wednesday, where we discuss Laredo's impact on world trade and world trade's impact on Laredo. I'm here with Dr. Federico Schaffler. He is with the Texas A&M International University, and Dr. Schaffler and I are going to discuss some of the long-term vision for the region of Laredo. So thank you for coming. Thank you for joining us.
It's always very interesting when you look into the future. And I think that this moment that Los Dos Laredos we're currently living and where we don't know what's going to happen with NAFTA. And one of the good things is that both cities, Nuevo Laredo and Laredo, currently have a long-term vision plan. In the case of Laredo, it's the Laredo Comprehensive Plan. It's something that's mandated by law, but that wasn't done for over 20 years. And now it's an excellent document. And in the case of Nuevo Laredo, between 2008 and 2010, there was a very interesting project called Región Laredo, the Laredo region, where, and I was part of the city government back then, where we worked with citizens, with business, with social organizations in Los Dos Laredos to develop a long-term vision plan to the year 2040. Now that I'm at TAMIU, we've been asked by the private sector in Nuevo Laredo to update that plan because 5 or 8 years later, a lot of things have changed. So now with the NAFTA renegotiation process underway, and I think it's very important for our economy, for our local economy, for our communities, that both our cities have their sights placed in the future.
Yeah, definitely. I know there's been a lot of growth for our region since the passing of NAFTA, and to keep up to date with that has definitely presented its challenges, but we're facing another major challenge. We don't know if there's going to be a NAFTA in the next year or two. Or
that thing that happens when you don't know what's going to happen, that feeling you have is, okay, how am I going to react? How am I going to survive? Mm-hmm. I'm very confident that Los Dos Laredos will survive with or without NAFTA. Trade will continue to cross through our border, and there will be economic growth. But we still have to consider what is probably a second economic vocation for the city of Laredo and also for Nuevo Laredo. Because right now both communities revolve around international trade, but manufacturing should be up there. It's because of that importance for international trade, our both communities have developed a lot of infrastructure, the World Trade Bridge and highways and everything that supports the crossing of merchandise through our border. Other cities, like Reynosa, as an example, and Ciudad Juárez and Tijuana, they're more focused on manufacturing, maquiladoras or industrial plants, and that is something that in Los Dos Laredos it's okay, yeah, qué bueno, it's happening, but let's focus on this. I think now should be the time that both cities and both economic development organizations from both sides of the border work a lot more than they've been doing in the recent years on trying to get more industry here, mm-hmm. more manufacturing, because it really is not so difficult to consider that new manufacturing plants could be built in Los Dos Laredos, either in Laredo, Texas, or in Nuevo Laredo, or like it was a long time ago, twin plants, because the components, the commodities, the merchandise, parts already cross through here. So what would happen if some shipment that is sent from any state you want in the United States towards Mexico, so they're manufactured, stops at Laredo, value is added, mm-hmm. and then it can go over there for another thing, or maybe just stop here, get some components from Mexico, and ship it back to the States. So that's something that merchandise already is crossing here. It's a $370,000 a minute of trade between Mexico and the United States crosses through Laredo. So just imagine if one part of that components would stay here and added value provided by local workers, that would mean a lot for our economy.
I can't. I'm getting emotional almost, because that's one of the things. When I first moved here and I saw this amount of land just waiting to be developed, and I said we could have, large scale. I mean, we have large scale industrial parks. We have large scale manufacturing here, and I know that there's also a very large challenge there that we ourselves, Global Twin Specialists, we're working on, and that's the workforce development and the training and making sure we're ready to bring, and that's one of those chicken or the egg issues. Manufacturers are looking at Laredo, but one of the things they want is a trained workforce. And we're not going to train a workforce if we don't have the employment already established.
Exactly.
It's which one comes first.
Yes, that's something else. I've known for a fact that large companies have been interested in coming to invest in Laredo or Nuevo Laredo, and they come in and say, okay, I'm going to need, 150 mechanical engineers. Mm-hmm. And some university might say, okay, we'll have them some 10 years from now. Or with the boom of energy, the fracking, gas and oil. Oh, we need petroleum engineers. And I remember a case of a university in Piedras Negras, Tecnologico, who came over and asked us for advice at TAMIU. They stopped by the Texas Center and the Office of Global Initiatives, and they asked us, how do we get a petroleum engineering degree in Piedras Negras? And when do you need it? No, well, we're probably going to have our first graduate some 8 years from now. And the thing is, companies that are planning on investing are not going to wait 8 years. So they're going to bring their technicians or their engineers from other parts. So the thing is, like you very well mentioned, it's the egg or the chicken. The thing here is that we need the triple helix of academia, government, and the private sector to get together and say, okay, what do we want our city to be? Mm-hmm. Do we want it to be continue forever to be just a international trade hub?
Yeah.
Do we want to diversify and have manufacturing and probably some health industry or something else?
A lot of research and development opportunities.
What do we want? And then you can start working on your universities. And we have excellent universities and technical school here in Los Dos Laredos. The thing is, how are we going to prepare our students for the future? And the other thing is this. Innovations are so coming at us so fast that right now some of the most important jobs didn't exist 10 or 15 years ago. And they have such a demand. And students, and last night I spoke with a group of students. I told them, hey kids, you have to be willing to learn many different things. Mm-hmm. And don't think that just because you got your degree, that's where you're going to work the rest of your life. You're probably going to live to be 120 and you're going to change your jobs 5 or 10 times. So this availability of training institutions or universities in Laredo, Nuevo Laredo, we should find a way to develop a retrainable workforce, not train someone just to do one thing, train them to be have the disposition to always be learning something else. And if they change their mind and don't want to work in this anymore, they already are their set of mindset is, okay, I'm going to learn something else. Yeah. And that's something that we have to work on our children and our young generation, that you're going to have to change jobs many times. And right now, one of the things that I've heard a lot is, okay, well, let's teach people coding. Oh, let's teach all of those men and women that lost their jobs because of robots. Now let's teach them to code. Yeah, but they're 45, 50, 55 years old. They're very close to retirement. And maybe they're not, they don't have all the tools to learn something as modern as coding. Maybe something else. But the challenge is, how could our communities work both with the universities and the manufacturing centers, so we can develop that workforce that we need today, but also also prepare them for the future. What kind of work? I don't know, but we can plan something, and that's where strategic planning with a long-term vision is so important for both our communities.
Where are we at as a region with our long-term plan?
Well, the thing is, we've managed to advance. In 2008, 2010, over 7,000 people of Los Dos Laredos got together in one way or the other, surveys, interviews, roundtables, conferences, suggestion boxes, directed interviews, and a very interesting document was built with all of that information, looking towards the strengthening the Región Laredo, the Laredo region, for the year 2040. The thing is, a couple of things happened then. One, politics just showed its ugly head, and that valuable document, built with the energy and the effort and of two communities, was just shelved and forgotten. And the other thing is that our communities in Los Dos Laredos should have appropriated that plan and say, hey, this is not the government's plan. This is our plan. So we are going after it. And we are, as citizens, as taxpayers, we're going to tell the government, hey, this is where we want to go. It's not just, okay, a new mayor, a new presidente municipal, let's erase everything that happened before, and the only correct thing is whatever I say from now on. That doesn't help our communities. So the private sector, both the social organizations, civil organizations, and industry have to work together and say, and so they can face the government, whatever government, and say, hey, don't disregard everything that's been done before. We have to look forward. And now with the Laredo Comprehensive Plan, where a lot of people also work, and it's a very, very professional job that was made, that gives Laredo, Texas, a direction. Yes. Now it's up to the mayor, the council, and public and private sectors to work towards that objective, that goal. And the other thing is, we also always have to consider that everything is, you can improve everything. Mm-hmm. So if something is not right, you evaluate, you measure, you evaluate, and you act. Yes. So as long as these long-term vision plans, the new one for Nuevo Laredo that was updated recently, and we're very fortunate that they asked TAMIU, the Texas Center for Border Economic and Enterprise Development, to spearhead that project of updating the Nuevo Laredo long-term vision plan and the Laredo Comprehensive Plan. We already have those tools, those Laredos. What we need now is that our private sector takes a hold of it and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. Mm-hmm. A mayor, council person, judge, okay, this is where we want to go. And because it has, it's a possible, from the moment it was they were conceived, it included measuring indexes. Okay, you can measure what you want, yeah. And if you're not going in that direction, then you can change the direction or improve.
Well, that concludes today's episode of World Trade Wednesday, brought to you by Global Tooling Specialties, where we discuss Laredo's impact on world trade and world trade's impact on Laredo. Today, we had Dr. Federico Schaffler from Texas A&M International University, and it was a great conversation on what are some of the challenges and some of the routes we're going to take for the long-term vision of our region. Thank you for joining us, and please remember to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss the next episode of World Trade Wednesdays. Thank you.